The following is a conversation with Adrian Pudlik, a podiatrist, model, client and friend. Adrian and I originally met in February 2022 through a running group on the Gold Coast. Interestingly, this was actually the same morning I met Lucas, another friend who I've also recently recorded a conversation with. There must be something about meeting like-minded people while running during a dark, stormy morning before 5 a.m. because just like with Lucas, Adrian and I quickly hit it off as mates. We were in a similar network and actually trained together several times in 2022. However, with our busy lives, we hadn't been in touch for about a year before running into one another a few months ago in April 2024. While catching up, I showed Adrian a recent client transformation where I'd just completed a photo shoot with the help of my talented friend Sahan. As you'll soon hear, not long after this, Adrian reached out to me looking to have a similar shoot done to help flesh out his portfolio. Initially, I just helped to connect Adrian with Sahan, but when Adrian asked me for advice on how he could come into the shoot in peak condition, we decided to work together and undergo a photo shoot prep. Despite only having a short time of 2 weeks, this coaching process was very thorough. I spent time on not one, but 2 phone calls simply getting clear on what type of look Adrian and I were aiming for, subsequently coming up with a suitable protocol for us. While it helped that we already knew each other, I still took a lot of care to really explain the process we were about to go through. Adrian and I were both prepared to be aggressive to get a great result. However, this was balanced with making sure that this was still as healthy as possible and we weren't cutting corners on his general well-being. The plan I came up with had 4 stages: a depletion phase for 7 days, a carb loading phase for 3 days, a taper for 1 day, and a pre-shoot protocol in the final hours before the photos. The initial 7 days was an aggressive energy deficit. This served 2 purposes. Firstly, to remove a tiny amount of body fat, and secondly, to lower and deplete Adrian's muscle glycogen stores, priming him for a carb load phase. The following 3 days, we underwent this high energy, high carb loading phase. The goal here was to stimulate an effect called supercompensation. After being in a depleted state, like the one Adrian was in, following a very high carbohydrate nutrition protocol can trigger the stores of energy within skeletal muscle to briefly supercompensate, allowing for between 1.5 to 2 times more glycogen and water to be stored within the muscle. This makes the muscle larger and gives it a very full look. During this phase, Adrian was consuming about 4,500 calories each day, which included about 800 grams of carbs. While this helps fill out the muscles, it can also cause unnecessary bloating and water retention. To combat this, on the day prior to the shoot, we tapered the nutrition protocol back to a maintenance level of energy. On this day, Adrian ate more in the morning and less as the day went along, so he wasn't full of food right before bed. On the morning of the photo shoot, we fed Adrian some simple carbs a few hours prior to the photos and made sure he was hydrated. Of course, we also got the blood flowing with some exercises and pumped him up right before getting the gym photos taken. Over the space of 2 weeks, Adrian started at 83.3 kilos, dropped down to 80.5 kilos, and then ate back up to 84.7 kilos, getting leaner and fuller over the space of this fortnight by manipulating just his nutrition. The outcome was a sharp, full, athletic look. It's really quite impressive what we were able to achieve over such a short time frame. Importantly, Adrian got to learn a few things and we all had a lot of fun. I hope you can enjoy our conversation and perhaps even take away some insights from this process. Thank you again to Sahan for helping with the interview and for capturing some awesome photos. For more on Adrian's transformation, Sahan's services, and my services, please head to fiturbanpro.com. Now we're on.
Hello, mate.
Hello. How do you feel?
I feel good, mate. I feel the last couple of weeks have been an absolute journey condensed.
Yeah.
So it was very rewarding to see what we had put together so quickly.
Yeah.
And very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
So for anyone, who are you? And how do you know me?
My name is Adrian. I've known you, Guy, for I think a couple of years now, about 2 years. I think we crossed paths originally at one of the running groups, one of the many running groups on the Gold Coast.
It was with, it's funny because I've just recorded like a prelude for the interview that I've just done with Lucas as well. I'm not sure if he said or I'd said that I've done that. And I actually met you that same day. It was that same morning.
It was pouring rain.
Yeah.
It was pouring
rain.
And
I just recorded this thing literally yesterday, so that isn't out yet, but it'll come out soon enough, where I've given like Lucas this warm welcome, knowing who Lucas is a warm guy.
Yep.
And it's funny because obviously you were there as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it was February 2022.
I don't recall the dates, but I just remember it was pouring rain. You had your tights on, and you rocked up in your bike, and I'm like, this guy's a bit. He's cool. He's out there. He's
I did ride.
Yeah, you did. You're riding everywhere. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And then we parked on the little gazebo thing, and that's how we ran from there. I think we ran probably together and very quickly established that we were into the health and fitness life and approach. And what struck me very quickly was like it wasn't from a place of vanity. It was of a place of this is my life. This is one of my core values, and kind of a lot of my life and choices in life come from this one core value.
Why did it come across like that to you?
Because you're passionate about it, and I find, I mean, people can be passionate about coffee, about sourdough. I don't care. Like I respect it, and it draws me in, and it interests me. You interested me very quickly, and we just hit it off very quickly. Similar vibes, obviously training together on and off for a couple of years. Similar groups of people. In many ways, certainly somebody that I'd look up to, especially within the health and fitness industry, and especially in the last couple of weeks. I've been very impressed. I think that's the word that the reaction that comes to mind first was just like, wow. I had quite a few wow moments. Like I wasn't expecting this and that.
So for everyone who is going to potentially watch this, do you explain from your point of view this whole, perhaps starting from the day a couple of months ago when I showed you Ben's photo shoot, from there to now, like if you explain that journey from your perspective of what you thought and what we've just gone through and what we've just done today.
Yep.
If you want to share.
Yep.
Shed light on that one.
Yep. So I think it was a couple of months ago. It was a Sunday. I think it was raining again, and we crossed paths. And I hadn't seen you for a while, and I think I made the comment a few times. I thought you looked great, looked good, Nick, and the haircut and everything else.
Thank you.
Just looks quite different. You look very healthy. I think it's also owing to the Gold Coast as well. I mean, there's people that look obviously sort of the fit and the healthy and everything. People that you can tell they train, I guess that is, and then the people that genuinely look healthy. And I think that kind of ties back to why I felt like you were really invested in health and well-being, is that you struck me as somebody that looked healthy. It was, the skin, the eyes, and this is stuff, I guess, now being older and 43, that it's not just about the muscles, it's not just about the, which abs you can see and everything else, but for me, it's the whole package. It's about male and female, and even with my kids as well, and definitely within myself, is my skin in good condition, my drinking enough water, is my hair, everything. My gut health balance, is that right? So anyway, cross paths Sunday a couple of months ago. I was struck by how good I thought you looked, and then you showed me some photos of Ben. Was it?
Yep.
Did you say? So some outdoor shots of him, which around Brisbane River, which I thought looked great. And then not long after that, I got back into my old modelling agency in Brisbane.
How did that come about?
So like I said, I'm 43. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was doing some modelling for then June Daly Watkins, which at the time there was sort of two big agencies in Queensland, Vivian's and Daly's. And I was with them for a couple of years. It was great. It was a great way to get through university. I was doing
So you were doing, because obviously you've had an acting career as well.
I have got an acting degree and a bit of experience.
Yeah.
So I've always been attracted to the arts. I'm a podiatrist by trade, as you know, but I've always been attracted to the arts. I've always danced. I've always played musical instruments. I've always been attracted to good writing and literature and art and theatre and stuff like that. It's in my blood. So I got into the modelling agency, and then that kind of turned into, hey, there's like a TV ad. You just got to stand here and pretend that this is happening. And then I think I was still at maybe high school or just out, and I did
that's a long. Obviously, you're a good-looking man, but from a very young age, then you were in that space. Why did it fall off? Well, maybe it hasn't fallen off. What's kind of happened from your youth to now, where you're now back with this agency?
I think geographically, I was still living in Brisbane. So I just finished my degree, and I always thought modelling, and I still kind of do, was just an accessory, just a tertiary, just something that I'd sort of do on the side of the side. Kids came into play, travel came into play, responsibilities came into play, and that was just put on ice for I don't know, like 15, almost. I think it was 18 years I worked out. And then I've
18 years, okay.
18 years with it, yeah. So then did some travelling and everything else and came back to southeast Queensland and always remained in touch with one of the bookers there, Thomas. And he kept reaching out. He's like, you should maybe look at sort of coming back and doing this and doing that. And I always thought it was going to be the old-fashioned way where you'd rock up with your portfolios, it'd take half of your day, I'd have to drive from here, and I just ration, just too much overthinking, and it's just not going to work. Anyway, so I kept saying no to Thomas, and it was around that time when I bumped into you. You showed me the photos.
Yeah.
And life just sort of, the universe went, here's some stuff, here's a bit of extra time, go do those sorts of things. You go and...
So Thomas had always, in a way, been on the periphery and in touch.
Yes.
To some extent.
Yes.
And the stars are just aligned.
Correct.
In your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
It all came together really nicely.
And so that's probably 2 or 3 months ago now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then, all right, yeah, explain the thoughts and feelings, because it's funny, like, I was like, oh, cool, let me show you this cool thing.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? That was
know.
the sentiment running into you. I've just done this thing. Thank you, Sahan, with the photos. But...
You were very proud. I remember
I thought well, they looked great.
Yeah.
That's going to be up on the site and post that interview as well with Ben. But, yeah, from then to now, obviously you liked something about it too. But you didn't know Sahan.
No.
Did you think I was taking the photos?
You mean today or with the previous
when
shoot?
You reached out a month or so back, or 2 months back, because you kind of messaged just saying, hey mate, how you going? Would love to do a shoot.
No, I'm pretty sure that from the encounter that Sunday, I got the impression very quickly that your friend had taken the photos.
Yeah.
I knew you had played a large part in it, and obviously you're very proud of the shoot, and they looked fantastic. And I think I was saying to you earlier, I went back into the agency and did a shoot, and was very happy with the shoot, but I just wanted to do some more physical stuff, some more body shots. And then, yeah, we bumped into each other, you showed me those photos, this happened with Thomas, and then it all just went bang. So that was kind of the I wouldn't mind fleshing out my portfolio a bit more. I wouldn't mind, getting my socials up a little bit more. Let's do some body shots.
Okay.
And I think in this space, it's always, with any space really, but this one, because it can be a bit vulnerable, it's nice to have people that you know around you and trust around you.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have people that, I think when you train with somebody intimately as well for a period of time, and you're training and you're eating and you're talking and you share that common passion, they just get it. And I felt like I know you just got it. I know you get it, And so if I reached out to a photographer that I didn't know through somebody else that I didn't really know, there's a lot of what ifs and is this going to work? Is it going to gel? But
without being cliche, it's the vibe.
100% it's the vibe. 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that
makes sense.
And so that all being said, the trust is there straight away. So whatever you told me to do or not do in the last 2 weeks, I followed like gospel. And
so, if today's Saturday, Sunday, losing my marbles, so Friday, 16 days ago or something like that was when you and I would have been texting, and then we chatted Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. So it's not even a full
fortnight.
It's not even a full fortnight.
No, I think it's 12 days.
Do you want to explain the wants or reasonings or desire behind you asking for more help or more advice? Because originally, and I think I'd half apologized via text because I was like, oh, sorry. I didn't really know what you were kind of going for. And now I know everything you've just said, even in more detail just now that we're discussing it. But I didn't really get everything of where you were at. Obviously, I had a pretty good idea 2 weeks ago. But a month ago, when you were like, oh, I want to do a show, I was like, oh, yeah, cool.
Just
Here's the
slap
hun.
it together.
It was like,
yeah.
I'll link you up.
Yeah.
You guys are cool. Go for it. It's
Yeah.
going to work well. But then when you'd gone, oh yeah, like I want to look good. Oh yeah, I want to look. I was kind of like, oh yeah, do this. And then you'd kind of asked a bit more specifically, what was your, in your own words, reasoning behind that or the help, like getting into the coaching side of it more? What's, you know, is it the vibe or what is it that's kind of attracted, you know, me and the service that I can offer or provide or the help to get you to what we've done today? Like, what is it about that in the last fortnight?
I wasn't, well, straight off the cuff, and I think I've alluded a couple of times, I wasn't expecting, given the short turnaround time, how much response and how much good you can do within that period. Like, I've done shoots and not comps, but things in the past where it's been a massive lead up, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks sometimes as well. And then it physically, mentally, you're cooked well before the end of it. But on the flip side of that, I just thought that there was going to be too short a turnaround time. I think because I knew you and I wanted to give this a proper red hot crack, I wanted to do everything
for your portfolio.
But also just I felt an obligation that if we're going to pull you guys down from Brisbane and we're going to get together and do this, that I wanted to do the best job that I could do
come in looking
good. Look, I stay in shape all year round. I mean, that's just part of my hour sometimes. You know, it's just about the health. But I know when I need to lose a little bit, or if it's summertime or whatever it is, and I want to sort of look better. Especially now in my 40s.
When I put this together, I'll probably end up putting some of Sahan's photos, maybe some of like the beach ones on there, or the gym ones on there for that look.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, I've derailed the conversation.
No, that's okay.
But
so I.
But when you know when you might be a degree off.
Yeah.
It was kind of what I've chimed in on.
Yes. Yeah, correct. And I've been training. I was working out before. I think I started going to the gym properly when I was about 13. So that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I am one to keep up with the fads. I'm one to listen to everything. So I feel like I've always had a finger on the pulse. I feel like I know my stuff relatively well.
Yes.
So I didn't,
and obviously health science background as well.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But I just feel like I know what to do and when. And the training side of things has never been an issue for me. I've never lacked motivation. I train twice a day most days, and because I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy what I do. Otherwise, I
Is it mainly just one running and gym usually? Yeah.
So my mornings will be a cardio after one or two of those espressos, heart starters, and it generally will be a running group on the Gold Coast, and then my afternoons after a day of eating, or almost a day of eating, will be a resistance workout. I feel like I've done every sort of session. I've done hits and plyos and swimming and running and sprints and all sorts of stuff. I feel like I've got the sweet spot with what I do. It works well with my life, works well with the body and mind, and that's great. So the training component's never really
Training's
been an
good.
issue. Training
you kind of know when you're a degree in or out.
Yeah, but that
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, I'd just done a shoot in Brisbane, so I knew I was in pretty good condition.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could tidy up that 1 or 2 degrees.
Yeah.
And that's when I asked for your advice.
Yeah.
You know, and I was serious from day one. I was like, well, I'm not going to do this half-assed. I'm going to go 100% and give everything to this day and to you guys both. And it was then the texts with you and then the emails and the planning and programming and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm doing this 100%. I'm committing to it, and I'm going to follow this to the T. And that's when I think it was within about 72 hours maybe that I really started to notice a difference straight away.
Yeah.
And that I maybe a little bit of ego. I was like, I'm not going to learn a great deal. I'm not going to really pick up much here. I'll ask for advice and sort of see what he says. But then when you showed me exactly what you showed me and outlaid it, and it's like, cool, this is really clear cut. This is something that I can follow easy. And it wasn't easy, but there were certainly some times when I was like, gosh, I'm starving or I'm full or whatever it is. But I learned so much. I think it keeps coming back to like how impressed I was and how astounded I was with how much I'd picked up in those 12 days. And then stuff that I can easily adopt and keep doing now with my life. And then also come back to it. And hopefully, if there's more of these sorts of things or events or whatever, or if I want to tidy up for 1 or 2 degrees, I'll come back to you or come back to the program or whatever it is, because I've picked up a lot of stuff.
So obviously you and I know what we've done, but just for anyone watching or listening, and feel free to jump in on this and add any info that perhaps I miss from my overview. But basically, obviously, Adrian, yourself, you've already been in great nick this entire time, and perhaps where someone else might need to get into photo shoot shape, it might be 6 months or 12 weeks or whatever it is, you've already got such a good athletic physique foundation. But in the last 2 weeks, since we've spoken, I realised, right, we really do want to make the most out of today with this shoot, which looks amazing. My thought was, right, we want to try and pull the last little bit of body fat off you. And then we want to fill your muscles out as much as we can. So when we're in the gym this morning and when we're down the beach, you just look very lean but not emaciated is the look we've gone for. So in my mind, that's what we've gone to do, and it's kind of worked out about, not full 2 weeks, but about 7 days of this very low calorie, low carb depletion type diet, and then about 4 days of very high carb filling you back up. So that's kind of my breakdown of what we've done. But I think it's really interesting for me to hear, what you've learned or what you found interesting, or how quickly you've noticed the change as well. I've obviously I understand how quick a change can happen, but it also depends on how well someone follows it as well. So that's interesting. But
I think if it wasn't for you, I would have come into this shoot under eating. So say if we rewind, say that 12 week, we'll make it say 14 days. So over that period of 12 to 14 days, I would have dialed my calories right down. I would have survived off steamed chicken and salads and water and black coffee or something like that. And it's sure I would have looked lean / skinny / sort of strung out and gaunt, but that's not health to me. That's not, especially as a as a dad. That's
I think
not
you're a young man.
I don't define health as that.
Yeah.
I was when I read your program, and I was like, wow, I'm really trying to strip off as much fat as I can within that 3 or 4 day window, and surviving off around 1,000 to I think 1,300 calories, I think tops, and then literally flick the switch overnight, 12 hours to
it's like
4,500 calories or something like that, and like all good food. Let's just be clear, and I said this to you guys. Well, I don't want to eat rubbish. I don't want to have that dirty fill out that they talk about. I still want to keep on top of my skin health, eye health, hair health, gut health, all those, and mental health as well. So I don't just want to sit there and gorge myself. So it may have made the task for you a little bit harder, but you listened and you catered for what I really wanted, as well as kept in mind what we were trying to achieve together. So I didn't. If I just went in without your advice, I just would have come in, undercaloried, undereaten, and just looked flat.
Yeah.
But you've gone, okay, well, this is our window. You listened to me with what was important to me still. You knew this was the date. So
What's
we went,
something that you felt like I'd listened to that was important to you?
exactly that was just I don't want to eat rubbish.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to eat. I don't like. You just told me when to eat, when, and all those sorts of things. But what's important for me, the parameter is that I just want to.
Yeah,
keep,
okay.
I just want to keep healthy.
Sticking within your like and dislikes,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So then we work backwards. We got the few days of low calorie, flick the switch, the few days of high good calorie, and I would not have done that. That would have scared me to be eating 4,500 calories. And I think I was at breakfast yesterday and I was eating 4 slices of sourdough, and I said I've got to shoot tomorrow, and the guy with me is like, why are you eating them? And that would have been my mentality before this period. But we went super low, super high, and then we finished with what I think is probably honestly the best shape I've been in. Well, I did a photo shoot for a magazine here on the Gold Coast about 6 years ago.
Do you have the content?
I do somewhere.
Maybe we can compare them.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. And I look, I look like a road map, but it's just too.
Yeah.
I look like a junkie almost. Like it just too ripped and too gaunt. I look sickly, I look poorly, and it just.
Yeah. It's really interesting with body fat, particularly because what we're doing in a way is almost like bodybuilding light.
Yes.
Like no one's enhanced here. We're not trying to look like some, lump of some nugget human Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not what we're. Then again, he's quite an aesthetic person, but maybe more modern bodybuilding, just a big nugget of a human, like an enhanced athlete. But as natural athletes, body fat percentage almost isn't as the lower the better. It's to an extent you don't want to have love handles for an athletic look. If that's what you're going for, that's perhaps not the target, but it's not as low as possible either with body fat. So I think that's an interesting thing. But yeah, this morning when looking at some of the shots and how they'll turn out, I think you look full. You look jacked and ripped, but you can look at your face, you look happy, you look healthy, your skin doesn't look tired.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Yeah. What is across the last 14 days then, what would key highs and lows be?
I mean, there's quite a few high. I mean, today was the pinnacle.
Yes.
But the little wins along the way was just like the numbers, and I think
that's actually a good area.
I'm not a man of
the
the
data
stats.
of it, really.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been a man of like apps and not even social media up until the last couple of years. Like I missed that kind of window. For better or worse. So I've never really relied too much on the technical aspect. I've never weighed food a day in my life. I'd never owned a set of scales. I hadn't owned a pair of bathroom scales for years, 20 years, I reckon. So I've never relied on that. And I kind of in the past I've always felt that was a little bit too constrictive and like too much. I'm not, why am I doing this sort of thing? But given our short window, given your training, your approach, and my trust in you, and I invested in the apps and everything else, and I followed them, and then it was amazing to see the drops and track them within 24 hours, 12 hours sometimes, between body weight, tracking my calories, and I think I said to you earlier as well, like I in the past I'd definitely been under eating and maybe overeating at times as well, because I hadn't had a specific, more accurate gauge on how much I was eating. So it was really cool to follow all the apps and the numbers and the stats and watch my results. So it was constant wins along the way. And if I didn't have those constant wins, I would have been like, why am I doing this sort of thing? So that was great. I really enjoyed that part of it. And that is definitely something that I'm going to keep on my phone and keep the scales out and probably continue to weigh most of my food, because it's a powerful tool.
Yeah. Has it ever felt overwhelming with the amount of I mean, it's not actually that much data. It's not like we're weighing every little
Mm.
minute of your day or something like that. But
Mm.
I guess body weight, food.
Yep.
I suppose you're already tracking probably your own training. Not that we've done much of that. We've just spoken about it more so than logging training.
Yep.
Has
correct.
any of the food tracking or weight tracking been overwhelming, or is there any negatives with that?
Not at all. No, I think I kind of stalled on buying the scales and the weights, just because of my own thing. But once, and I
Why?
guess that I for me it's always kind of struck me as being a paradox. If I see guys in the gym strapping all their joints to lift a weight, for me that they're doing it for the wrong reason. For personally, I think that you're pushing too much weight for your body, so there's a lesson in that for you.
Yeah.
And I find that's a paradox. You're literally injuring your body for health. And I kind of feel like that spills across into that theory of, I'm eating for health, but then you're weighing everything, and it's all like this heady sort of cognitive thing. And that's
How
why
much is too much?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got to come back to why we're doing this in the first place.
Yes.
Why am I lifting weight? Why am I being healthy?
Have you felt like we've had a strong why this whole time?
Have I felt like we've had a strong? It's been the why has been. The why's changed. The why was a shoot. I want to look good for a shoot. So that was originally the why, which is like, it's a bit of a fickle why, but that was, the original.
I mean, there's interest in an element. It's both passion and career tied up for you in a sense.
Yeah,
It's not any more fickle than anything else, really.
that's true. That's true.
Like, there's multiple elements to you wanting to do that. But that was your original why.
That was my original why. It was purely a date, an hour in mind, really, to get it done. And then the why shifted to like
around the 2 weeks ago?
No, probably around the first few days where I started noticing changes.
Okay.
And then I think I sent you the message, I'm genuinely enjoying this.
Yeah.
And I might be dragging my backside on this low calorie step of the process, but I'm genuinely enjoying this. And then when I started to see the results visually and analytically, that I was like, this is actually really... And so the photo shoot kind of became, whatever. This is like a nice little thing to do, an experiment to have.
Mm-hmm.
So if the photo shoot got pushed another week, then so be it. And if it happens again in a few months' time, then awesome. So then, that's the why had shifted to a genuine enjoyment for what we were doing.
Cool. So they were all pretty positive. They were highs. What about lows or lows, negatives, tough parts?
No, I mean, obviously the locales. Like I work in a job. I like
also
to talk.
for the record as well. I know I mentioned this a couple hours ago. It's really tricky because there's a fine line in navigating. It's easy in hindsight for us to go, we should have done this. But 3 weeks ago, you and I might have just been texting and I'd been like, oh yeah, mate, do this. Like, you would have been like, oh, what are some good tips to come in looking good for the shoot? And I probably would have just said something back in one sentence. 2 weeks ago, we started to get a bit more dialed in. A week ago, it was like, here's your shopping list to the gram. Buy this, do this at this point in time. If we could go back 2 weeks ago, I would not... I don't think we've done anything wrong. I think I perhaps set that 1,300 calorie mark with the idea being you're probably going to end up, if you're not weighing yourself, you're not weighing your food, and we don't know how you're training, if I just tell you, train less, eat 1,300 calories, which is roughly this, because I kind of gave a bit of a guide, you're probably going to end up eating closer to 2,000 calories just by eyeballing it.
Correct.
And my thought was, that's going to be good. And then typical masculine testosterone, you're like, oh crap, I'm into this.
Yeah.
I've actually eaten 900 calories today.
Yeah. The first day was 990, I think it was.
Which is like, oh, okay, we need to eat more than this.
Yeah.
So, but we kind of balanced that out very quickly.
Yeah, we did.
I think. But, yeah. But again, that probably touches on where you would have been earlier, perhaps. Like if you and I hadn't done this and you tried to do something with that prior mindset of lighter, leaner, the better, perhaps it might have even been something similar to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I wouldn't have been weighing or tracking anything at all. So I just would have done the same thing more or less and come in looking good. You're looking good, but I'm not to the point where I was like, wow, I've impressed myself. Like I was not expecting this at all. And like you said before, I look, lean but full, but healthy and happy.
Yeah.
And the whole picture was really important to me. Um, and yeah, I was not expecting that at all. So the lows, yeah, definitely, the low calorie, the low calorie stuff.
What does it feel like? If you were to
Uh,
describe it to yourself or someone else who hasn't just experienced what you've experienced,
the lows or
the lows and the feeling, what does it feel like?
it's everything is exhausting. Everything is. I like I said, I was about to say, I work in a job where I'm talking and moving all the time, and it was just a couple of moments there where I didn't want to make the phone call. I didn't want to deal with the email because it's almost like you're hungover. Like it's just like I lost the sort of spark. But then in saying that, and I think we touched this on the phone as well, when you're, because there was a 3 days, maybe 2 days where it was basically zero carbs, or there was zero added carbs, so it was no fruit at all, and then everything was lean, no rice, everything was super lean. There were moments of clarity that I think you get when you're in that sort of ketonic stage. Physically.
Yeah, perhaps keto's a very fad thing in the last, maybe less so in the last year or two, but maybe 5 to 3 years ago it was a massive thing, and I think people almost think you can get one of those drops and put it in your drink, and now I'm like, I'm in ketosis, which isn't really how it works. But I do think, given what you'd done and what we ended up doing across that 7-day very depleted state, towards the end of it, you probably were in that ketosis.
I'd say so, yeah.
State,
yeah.
Which is so interesting because then I presume what you're about to say is you get very clear, and you're like, I'm not hungry, I'm not eating anything, and I've got energy.
Yeah.
And I feel fine, and my energy is very non-volatile. It's very stable.
Yeah. I was just going to say, yes, you've got energy, but it's a different sort of energy. It's just like kind of like your body knows, well, your body's accepted the fact that, okay, this is the energy or lack thereof that we are having to survive on.
Yeah.
So therefore our emotional range or our our highs and our lows narrow, and you just sort of, you're there, you're existing, and you're clear and you're stable and you're calm. It's actually quite nice. And
would you say
that
to yourself if you were going to do, this again, or for someone else to go through something like this, combating the low that is low energy, or the negative that is low energy, or hunger? What advice would you give to yourself or someone else?
I'd time it. I was lucky that this week with work and a few things in life, it's been pretty chilled. So I would time it. I certainly wouldn't have any big events, or I would try not to sort of have the kids, which I do alternate weekends, because I need a different sort of energy. I need that sort of energy. So if I was going to do this again, I would just time it like I did this time, and then also it gave me the opportunities and time to come home and cook, and I enjoyed. So that was really good. So I wasn't sort of reheating and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I would absolutely go through that again. I'd go through it for a longer period, because it was really enjoyable.
Well, for you, we definitely didn't need to be in a low energy state any longer. Like, I think, I mean, in theory, could we have, if we wanted to go another week to get even a tiny bit leaner again, we wouldn't go as aggressive as what we've just done. There wouldn't be a need to, because of the 11-day window or 10-day window of whatever we had. And as well, I think conversations, trust that you and I had, I thought, right, if we keep our finger on the pulse and track this very well, we can safely and effectively go very aggressive. It would be foolish to recommend to someone to just willy-nilly fast, hardcore, eat really low energy for 7 days, and then you look like Adrian. It's probably not going to happen, because I think a wealth of experience in the world of health and fitness from a theory base, but also training and you being intuitive with your body, which I think you do have a very good you're very in tune with perhaps your internal state, which I think is underrated. Mindset, part of it, but not just mindset, as in I can feel what my body needs and wants right now. You might have just slept a bit earlier or whatever in the last week. Those little things, I think, that experience you had would have helped you, I imagine, compared to someone else. So that's a good thing. So I think it's worked out really well for you. So, yeah.
It's great.
So, all right. Rapid questions, wrapping up. I'm not sure how long we've been going for. But, heaps of time. Okay. If you were to briefly summarize the biggest learning, or biggest learnings if there's a few, in the last 3 or 2 weeks, what would they be from this process?
I think once trust is there, I think not being scared with going aggressive in the highs and the lows. And I there were definitely moments there where I was like, gosh, it feels like I'm well under eating. And then there was quite a few moments where I'm like, gosh, I'm going to put on fat here because it's like the calories are so high and so dense. So I guess just trust and don't be afraid to, because your body will respond quickly in the intended way. And so just go for it. So yeah, I was just, don't be afraid to go as aggressive as you can, basically. That's something that I definitely,
and it has worked well, like timing wise. But I mean, there's a level of chance to that. But I think we've also made this work out too.
Yep.
So, but yeah, okay, that's an interesting takeaway. Would you do anything differently?
Would I do anything differently? No, I think the results speak for themselves. No, I guess I could have done it for longer. So I'm not sure if that's a different approach, but yeah, I definitely.
I suppose it's hard to know before we look at any like final photos. But do you think you would have wanted to come in any leaner for the look you are looking for?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think I came in exactly as planned and where I wanted it to be. Yeah.
Did you think you would look how you looked today?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Did
you think
No,
that?
I didn't actually.
Was there any? I mean, briefly looking at some of the photos, as well as maybe your own reflection in the mirror this morning or in the gym just before. Were there any moments that were pleasantly surprising that stand out to you?
I think the moments in the gym downstairs after getting a bit of a pump on, I think, look, we all go to the gym and we all look good in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes, but I was really astounded with how much of a reaction there was in the body physically. And I guess I kind of doubted, being in my 40s now, I'm like, is my body really going to respond to somebody in their 20s or whatever? Or is this really going to work for somebody in my age bracket with probably lower testosterone and those sorts of things and taking longer to recover and repair? Is it really going to have the same sort of effect? And I think it does, and I think it definitely did. So, yes, there were moments in the gym having depleted everything, jacked everything up, kind of, met in the middle the last sort of 36 hours, got some sugar into us this morning, did a few exercises with your instructions, and then, yeah, there were moments there I was like, I didn't expect to look. I didn't expect to see this or see that, or I was surprised with the appearance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely I'd say moments in the gym having sort of worked out a little bit.
And again, because obviously I haven't seen you in the last week, it's hard for me to gauge how profound of a change that is this morning. Did you look at all this vascular or this fall in the last couple of days or in the last week? Like, I'm just genuinely curious to how this compares to the last, whether it's the last week or the last couple of months for you training. Like, how different is that this morning after timing all of this and getting to that peak hour now? Like, how different does that look?
I feel like we peaked it almost to the hour. So
Yeah, totally.
I feel like this morning I've definitely felt and looked full and vascular, and think I've said that too in a few of our texts in the last few days with carb loading and my sessions. But this morning was definitely the most full and vascular and jacked that I've looked in years.
Yeah.
Years. Yeah. So it feels like
Significantly?
it's yes. Yeah, just
That's
I mean,
cool, isn't it?
it's almost like you know when what's his name, the actor Hugh Jackman. Yeah, so when Wolverine,
Huge, jacked man.
yeah, like you've got your lean, you've got your Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, sort of like yeah, he's in good, very good nick sort of thing. But then somebody like Hugh Jackman takes off his shirt and it's like he looks like a beast. Like he looks like he could tear a car apart. Like just like, and I just had a moment this morning where I'm like, I didn't expect to look like that at my age still in my life. I thought those days were behind me and I was like, wow, I look jacked, I look full, I look sort of dense. If it wasn't for you and your training and advice, I would have looked just lean and there's not much body fat and, like in good nick, but not like, wow, that's like presence,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I definitely had that moment this morning in the gym. I was like, yeah,
That's
wow,
cool.
I was not expecting to look so kind of like, yeah, just full.
Full is probably the word.
Yeah, I think so too.
Full, vascular, definitely. I do think Hugh Jackman in the Wolverines is in his 40s, though.
Yeah, I think
But I also think he might be on a few secret herbs and spices.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
But
I guess
we don't. No one knows for sure. That's. I'm not alleging anything, but
it's all. I'm not going to sit here and lecture, but it's all relative, guy. When you're in your 20s and your 30s, and anybody watching this, it's easy to. Well, it's not easy, but going to the gym and eating relatively well and getting your 6 to 8 hours and all those sorts of things. Like that's all formulaic and it's all there. But when you're in your 40s and scientifically that your testosterone's dropping and your muscle mass is dropping by whatever percent per year and all those sorts of things, statistically that you're up against it. So then when you do have moments like this morning where I was like, wow, cool, I've still got it. Like I've still, wow, this is cool. The human body is incredible. And what you can do within a short period and the reaction you have from that is really, really cool and impressive. And I hands down, no, I wouldn't have had that reaction and response if I approached today as I would have. So having an educated set of eyes in their late 20s, I think, saying, yeah, you can still do this and still do that and still eat this and still eat that, and bang, it's like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm really glad we've got this result.
Me too.
In the last 14 days, best food and worst food.
Best food
and worst food.
Cereal at 8 o'clock at night would be the best.
Best and worst.
It's a love hate. It's a love hate. Look, when I read 250 grams of Nutri-Grain, like I love my American sugary cereal, I loved. But yeah, I mean that was fun. So that was cool. That was fun. And then it's funny. Couple of those nights I would like, before jumping into bed, I'd be like, wow, I'm ready for the shoot now, because like my body is responding so acutely. So that
Nutri-Grain's a win.
Nutri-Grain was a massive win. I really enjoyed that. The lows, just the low calories, just in general, mate. Yeah.
The worst food is fasting and not eating food.
Yeah. The worst food is no food. Yeah. So there was nothing that I didn't want to stomach. It was just moments there where I could have done with a bit of extra energy, but then again, it just came down to trust, and it just came down to trust, and yeah.
Cool. Any closing statements?
No, I think I've wrapped it up. But in summary,
thank you for sharing.
Really impressed.
So am I. I think
really.
I think you look incredible, and
thanks, mate.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you and anyone can look great in your 40s or 50s or 60s or whenever. That's going to be really loud in the recording. But
sorry, Black Hole.
No, that's fine. be cool if it was in the video. But I think that, yeah, you looked great this morning and we really brought it together, which is awesome. I think it's a real testament to your work ethic, and perhaps there's an element of chance with things lining up, as you said, being perhaps not as busy of a week, but I think hopefully, if nothing else, you can take away some cool learning and tips and tricks for you to implement and things that you can trial and do and keep the fire burning within, and just keep crushing it in your own life.
So, thank you. There'll definitely be a process and relationship that I'd come back to if and when these things happen again, just because I've seen what can be achieved.
It's good fun.
It's great fun. It's very, very enjoyable.
It's
and
cool.
It's great fun. It's very cool. So thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Cool. Legend.
Alrighty.
Done.
Dunzo.